Listen, I never thought I would be the one to admit this. Not me, not Commander Vrax of the 7th Fleet, but here we are, and the High Council needs to know the absolute truth about what happened at the Tormarian Summit. So let me paint you a picture of how 3 quadrants of advanced civilization nearly went extinct because we made fun of humanity. Yes, you heard that right. 3 entire quadrants. It started on a Tuesday, not your Tuesday. Our Tuesday, you know, the one that lasts 47 hours and smells like burnt nebula dust. Anyway, there I was, sitting in the ground assembly hall with approximately 14,000 other alien representatives, all dressed in our finest luminescent exoskeletons, ready to mock the latest applicants to the Galactic Council. We thought we were hilarious. We thought we were sophisticated. We thought we absolutely understood everything about combat, evolution and survival. We were in every conceivable way completely and utterly wrong. The humans arrived through the central atrium. All of them, not just a delegation, not just an ambassadorial team. They brought their entire species. Well, not literally. They came with about 9,000 individuals, which I suppose qualifies as basically everyone when you only have about 8 billion on your homeworld. The first thing I noticed was that they did not glide. They did not hover. They did not even levitate slightly. They walked on 2 legs. The audacity. "Welcome, human delegates," I announced through the translators, barely suppressing the giggles of my subordinates. "We are thrilled to hear about your magnificent contributions to the cosmos." The lead human stood up. She was named Sarah something. I want to say Sarah Chen. Yes, Sarah Chen. She had this wild brown hair that defied every law of aerodynamics and eyes that suggested she had seen things, terrible things, hilarious things, the kind of things that make you question whether this individual had actually encountered real danger, or if she was just exceptionally good at maintaining a constant expression of, "I have witnessed your species' collective stupidity, and I find it amusing." "Thank you, Commander Vrax," Sarah said with the most disarming smile I have ever witnessed. "I'm here to tell you why you should probably be very, very afraid of humanity. Not afraid like when your ship's navigation system fails, and you're headed toward a star. Afraid like when you realize you've been the prey the entire time and didn't even know it. Now the entire assembly lost it. I am talking about complete and utter pandemonium. The crystalline beings from Altis 7 were literally vibrating with laughter, which caused a frequency that made 3 Vrelian diplomats develop immediate headaches. The methane breathers from the outer rim were bubbling their amusement into the atmosphere processors. We genuinely could not contain ourselves. The humans, predators, the species that lived on a rock that only had enough atmosphere to barely sustain consciousness, the beings who had to wear suits 99% of the time to survive anywhere outside their own planet. "Please, what is she going to tell us?" whispered Commander Blax, a septoid with 17 degrees of advanced tactical training. "That they can throw rocks very effectively, that they possess the mysterious power of moderate annoyance. I should have paid attention to the warning signs." Sarah was still smiling, not a nervous smile, not a desperate smile. The smile of someone who knew something we did not, and she was genuinely looking forward to teaching us. That smile should have terrified me. I wish I could go back in time and tell past Vrax, "You fool, that smile is the expression of an apex predator about to casually explain what an apex predator actually is." "I want to tell you about something from my world," Sarah continued, her voice suddenly taking on a different tone, calmer, more deliberate. "It is called a shark." Silence fell, not the poetic kind of silence, the confused kind. "Ah, shark?" asked Delegate Morenzo, a gaseous being from the Kepler systems. "Is this a weapon technology we have not yet catalogued?" "No," Sarah said, and now she was pacing back and forth, like a predator herself, which in retrospect should have been our first clue that she was in fact a predator. "A shark is an animal. It lives in the water on my world. It is approximately 2 to 8 meters long, depending on the species." "Oh, how adorable," muttered one of the crystalline entities. "A small aquatic creature." Sarah paused. She actually paused for dramatic effect. That is when I started to feel something strange, a tingling sensation. Not the good kind. The kind that happens when you realize you have made a catastrophic error in judgment, but have not yet understood exactly what that error entails. A shark, Sarah explained, is an animal that has existed on my world for 450 million years. It has remained essentially unchanged because evolution found perfection and decided not to bother with revisions. It has 6 to 8 senses. Humans? We have 5. The shark has these teeth, rows upon rows of teeth, and when one falls out another grows back to replace it. Infinitely. It can smell a single drop of blood from kilometers away. It has survived multiple extinction events that wiped out 99% of all life on our planet. It does not care about your opinions. It does not form governments. It does not create art. It does not need to, because it is so phenomenally efficient at existing that the ocean itself is its kingdom. The assembly had gone very quiet now. I noticed Delegate Morosa from the Titanium Consortium was actually leaning forward with interest. There is more, Sarah said, and her smile widened. Humans, despite being physically weaker than most of your species, have evolved to hunt these creatures for sport. We have developed technologies specifically designed to catch sharks, to track them, to study them, and occasionally to kill them. We have made them into cultural mythology, into fear, into fascination. We have taken the ultimate predator from our world and turned it into something we can challenge, comprehend, and overcome. And do you know why we can do that? She paused again. The drama was suffocating at this point. Because, gentlemen, ladies, and sentient gas clouds, we humans are not just predators. We are predators that can communicate complex strategies, that can pass knowledge from generation to generation, that can plan hunts across years, that can invent new tools, that can imagine threats that do not yet exist and prepare for them anyway. We are predators that hunted animals the size of buildings using nothing but sharp sticks and fire. We are predators that walked across frozen wastelands for months to track prey. We are predators that developed agriculture, not because we could not hunt, but because hunting one thing at a time became inefficient. And then the most terrifying moment of my existence occurred. Sarah Chen pulled up a holographic display of a great white shark on Earth in its natural ocean environment. It was magnificent. It was terrible. It was absolutely beautiful in the way that a natural catastrophe is beautiful. The teeth. By the stars. The teeth. Now imagine, Sarah said, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried through the entire assembly, if that shark could use tools. Imagine if it had opposable thumbs. Imagine if it could speak to other sharks and plan complex hunts. Imagine if it had curiosity. Imagine if it had creativity. Imagine if it lived for 80 years instead of 30. That would be, began Delegate Morenzo. Unstoppable, Sarah finished. That would be unstoppable. That is humanity. We are the shark. But we are the shark that invented astronomy, music, mathematics, and weapons that could turn stars into weapons. We are the shark that looked at your civilizations, your technologies, your fleets, and we wanted to join you, not because we are weak, but because we are bored. One planet? One planet is not enough for a species that has spent millions of years becoming apex predators. The room erupted. Not in laughter this time. In absolute, unfiltered panic. And that, my friends, is when everything changed. That is when the Galactic Council realized what they had been dealing with the entire time. That is when we understood that we had not been the hunters observing prey. We had been prey that did not know it was being watched. Sarah Chen smiled that smile again. And we all realized, in that singular moment, that we had made a massive mistake. The Grand Assembly Hall descended into what I can only describe as organized terror, which is hilarious because there is nothing organized about it. The crystalline beings from Alta 7 were literally shattering their own molecular structures in panic. One of the methane breathers from the outer rim started leaking gas so prolifically that we had to evacuate 3 entire sections just to breathe. The Vrelian diplomats were doing that thing where they multiply their voices, which meant instead of hearing one panic, we heard 17 panics at the same time. Chaos. Absolute magnificent, utterly deserved chaos. And Sarah Chen? She just stood there, watching us, smiling, that smile. I think, she said, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade through really soft things, we should talk about what comes next. Commander Blacks, the same one who had been giggling moments earlier, suddenly stood up with all 17 of his limbs shaking. You are threatening the council. This is an act of war. Sarah tilted her head, actually tilted it, like she was genuinely curious about something. Threatening? You? No, Commander. I am educating you. There is a difference. A threat implies we want something from you. We do, but not in the way you think. We do not want your territory. We do not want your resources. What we want is far simpler and infinitely more terrifying. What? I heard myself asking. My voice sounded small, pathetic. I was the commander of the 7th Fleet. I had negotiated treaties. I had prevented wars, and now I sounded like a juvenile sentient, asking what the monster under the bed wanted. Respect, Sarah said simply. We want you to stop treating us like a cute little species that got lucky with technology. We want you to understand that when we say we have hunted and killed the apex predators of our world with nothing but tools and intelligence, we are not bragging about historical achievements. We are describing the baseline of human capability. We are telling you what we do for fun during our adolescence. A new voice came from the back of the assembly. A voice that belonged to Delegate Kessler from the Outer Territories. Kessler was old, ancient by most standards. He had seen 7 different galactic reorganizations, and had survived every single one by knowing when to shut up and listen. What precisely does humanity want from the Galactic Council? Sarah gestured, and suddenly, the holographic display shifted. Instead of a shark, we were looking at humanity's actual history. Their wars, their weapons, their capacity for survival. We saw them hunt massive animals with fire. We saw them migrate across continents that were actively trying to kill them. We saw them domesticate enemies and transform them into allies. We saw them build civilizations, burn them down, and build new ones from the ashes. We saw them invent the wheel, then the combustion engine, then nuclear fusion, all while still figuring out how to not poison their own atmosphere. What we want, Sarah began, and now her voice carried something new, not mockery, not contempt, something worse. Certainty. What we want is to be treated as what we are. We are a spacefaring species. We are intelligent. We are adaptable. And most importantly, we are what happens when a predator species develops the capacity for abstract thought, long-term planning, and the ability to hold grudges for centuries. You wanted to mock us. Fine. But now you need to understand that every species in this assembly has either been conquered, has conquered others, or has reached a comfortable stalemate through mutual understanding. Humanity is offering you option 3, mutual understanding. Delegate Morenzo, the gaseous being, actually managed to form coherent speech, despite being essentially made of gas. And if we choose option 1, then you get conquered, Sarah said without a single hint of hesitation. Not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually, because humans are patient in ways your species cannot comprehend. We have wars that last decades. We have grudges that last centuries. We have stories about conflicts that happened 1,000 years ago that still matter to us. You are offering us entry into the galactic community. That means we can access your technologies, your knowledge, your networks. We can learn, we can grow, and then once we have learned everything you have to teach us, we will be stronger than you expected. And that is when you will remember that you chose to tell us we were cute. The silence that followed was the kind that makes you hear your own heartbeat. Well, if you have a heart, some of these beings did not, which just made it worse because they did not even have the comfort of blood rushing through their bodies in absolute panic. I stood up. I had to. As commander, it was my responsibility to respond. Even though I wanted nothing more than to levitate backward into the nearest wormhole and pretend this never happened. Sarah Chen, I said, my voice somehow managing to sound authoritative despite the fact that I was absolutely terrified. You come before this council as what? An ambassador? A warrior? A threat? All 3, Sarah answered immediately. I am an ambassador, because I am here to negotiate. I am a warrior, because every human carries within them the capacity to become one. And I am a threat, because the moment you stop seeing me as a threat is the moment you have already lost. Then something incredible happened. Something I did not expect. Sarah Chen extended her hand. The human gesture of peace, of trust, of alliance. But I am here, she continued, because my species believes that the most impressive thing any civilization can do is choose to work together despite being capable of destroying each other. That is why we have philosophy, art, music, and literature dedicated to the concept of peace, because we have spent so long proving we can wage war that we needed to invent reasons not to. Join us in that. Help us build something that is not based on who is stronger, but on who can think further ahead. Commander Black's made a sound like a dying spaceship attempting to communicate. You are offering us peace. No, Sarah said, and that smile returned, sharper now, more dangerous. I am offering you evolution. I am offering you the chance to be part of something that will eventually reshape this entire galaxy. I am offering you the opportunity to be on the right side of history, when humans stop being the cute underdog species and start being the species that everyone wishes they had treated better from the beginning. Take my hand, or watch as we reshape this galaxy without you. And I am standing there watching this human woman extend her hand to a species she has already psychologically destroyed with nothing but words and historical facts. The entire assembly is quiet. Delegates are looking at each other. I can see them calculating, weighing options, realizing that there is no winning play here except the one Sarah offered. So I reached out, and I took her hand. The moment I did, her smile widened, and I understood something profound in that instant. She had won. Not through force, not through weapons, not through conquest. She had won by making us realize that respecting her was the only intelligent choice, that humans were not predators we could domesticate or manipulate or mock. They were partners we needed to maintain good relations with. Welcome to the Galactic Council, officially, I said, and I meant every word. Thank you, Commander, Sarah replied. Now let me tell you about something called a honey badger, and that, dear listener, is how humanity became the most feared and respected species in the entire galaxy. Not through firepower, not through numbers, through the simple act of explaining what a shark was and letting us connect all the dots ourselves, through showing us our own foolishness in the mirror of their evolutionary history. The Galactic Council learned that day that the most dangerous thing you can do to an apex predator is insult it. The second most dangerous thing, letting it know you never took it seriously. Humanity took both lessons and ran with them. Within 5 years they had established trade networks across 3 quadrants. Within 10 years they held more political power than species that had been spacefaring for millennia. Within 20 years they were making decisions that shaped the future of the entire galactic civilization. And it all started because they explained what a shark was. Sometimes I think about that moment. About how close we came to genuine conflict. How a single species nearly started a war that would have consumed stars themselves. And how we avoided it all because one human woman understood that the best weapon is not the sharpest blade. It is making your enemy realize they are the one holding a dull stick. Sarah Chen is still here, by the way. Still part of the council, still smiling that smile. Last week she started talking about something called a wolverine. I suggested we just accept all her recommendations without question. Commander Blacks agreed immediately. So did everyone else. We learned our lesson. We learned it well. We learned it with teeth marks and scars and the undeniable certainty that we had played with fire and survived only because the fire decided to negotiate instead of burn. Humanity. The galaxy underestimated them. They have not made that mistake since.